All right. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's Tell the Truth.
Yes, sir.
Um, y'all haven't seen us since we became champs. Y'all know back to back
Celebrate.
dynastic chiefs. Y'all
You
know
dig
what
what
it
I'm
is.
saying?
The kingdom is ours. The Super Bowl champion. You'll see it right there. Like, come on now. In Spags we trust. He brought
Baby.
he brought it home in Spags we trust. Um, mm, Man, so we went out there in Vegas, got ourselves a chip. The first playoff win that happened in that Vegas stadium belongs to the Chiefs. Ain't that something?
Boom. Hit the
That's right.
soundboard, DG. DG, soundboard.
Brum,
it's,
brum,
a,
Boom,
brum.
boom, 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 boom,
it's a
boom.
beautiful thing to
We
be
gonna
able
get
to
a
say, man.
soundboard
Look,
eventually. We gotta get one.
yeah, we
We
go
need to get
get
one. We gotta
JDG on
get
it.
one.
Look, man, it was a heck of an experience. 'Cause I went out to Vegas. Obviously, I know CJ, y'all was in DG, y'all was in town during it. I mean, it was an
Mm.
awesome experience to watch that game. Obviously, a nail biter going to overtime. Um, I mean, there are so many places we could start to actually recap this game, but even though we want to try and keep it somewhat short because we're kind of in the off season mode here, but like, my goodness, I'll just give it to y'all. I guess. What are your overall thoughts of the game, and then I'll ask some more specific questions first and foremost. Go ahead.
You want to
Uh,
start, CJ?
I mean, coming into the game, we kind of expected the defense to go out there and ball out. And I said this is probably the calmest I've ever been going into this game for the exact reasons we saw transpire in the game. The defense just they gave us peace, at least for me, all year because we could get stops and get off the field. And the last three Super Bowls we've been going into, I've been nervous because I didn't know how we were going to get off the field per se. Because we were going to we'll go outside of the first one against Jimmy G, which was our first Super Bowl. But when you're going against Tom Brady, Jalen Hurts, it's a lot of weapons you have to deal with, especially all the guys they have to get the ball to. So the way the game transpired, it kind of went how I thought. I know we kind of talked about it before. That was a couple of weeks ago when we talked about it. They were going to maybe get up early, and we're going to find a way to get back into the game because every game we came out the first drive and scored, right? So that was the first game we didn't have an opening drive touchdown, which I kind of expected. Like we're not going to do that 4 games straight. So we had to figure out a way to obviously get stops and get off the field. And the offense obviously didn't have their best first half, but the second half they kind of flipped the mold and obviously had a better second half than they do first. Because usually we always started fast and ended slow. So we obviously did that backwards. So, but no, the offense did what they were supposed to do, kept it close. Obviously, outside of the Pacheco fumble, it was a clean game on offense. We didn't really have too many big, like turnover worthy plays, even though we kind of evened out with or we got one with the turnover with the punt drop that they had. But no, overall, the defense did their thing, man. They've been dominant the whole postseason. They were what, 13.7 points per game. They did they were supposed to do. So like nothing really like during the game. I know a lot of people get nervous, but in our group chat with me and DG and DMAC are in, I was never really worried. I'm like, we're keeping the game close. It's one possession. We know it's fourth quarter, if it's a one possession game, this team's going to find a way to win, and they did that. And the turning point for me definitely was the punt drop when they had the Richie James bounced off the defender, or not Richie James, but Ray McLeod for the Niners when he dropped the punt, and then obviously it bounced off his teammate's foot. He had to try to recover it. So that play gave us the momentum. We scored with MVS. After that, we were kind of off the races to then. And we kind of said, once you put the pressure on Purdy and Kyle Shanahan, he's known to kind of fold in those moments, given all the Super Bowls he's been in big moments. So, no, everything that happened in the game was pretty much how I expected it. Defense dominated. They got 3 straight 3-and-outs in the second half. Once I saw that, I was like, yeah, we're one. Like, if they got off their turnover, we threw an interception. Pat obviously would love to have that one back. He kind of overthrew Trav on the outside outbreaking route, and the guys were kind of in the same spot. Once we got 3 straight 3-and-outs after the turnover, and the Niners couldn't get any points off of that, it was zeroed out. I kind of had a feeling like, if we just get one touchdown more, it's going to be a game because I don't think they're going to score on us the rest of the game. Second half Spags, baby. Y'all see the shirt. It's Spags we trust, man. Second half Spags was a thing all postseason, and he confirmed that in the offseason for sure. That's why he got the extension. Shout out to Beach getting that done.
Yeah, man. Man, incredible game. You couldn't ask to finish the season in a better way, especially for our side of it. I know for the Niners side, it was a little bit depressing. They're probably still dealing with that, but somebody got to win, somebody got to lose. So,
Got him again.
but yeah, man. Going into the first quarter, it started off a little slow. I think, but that was kind of both teams. I mean, Niners were able to move the ball on that first drive, but then the turnover happened, and then we get the ball back and we go 3-and-out. So it was just started off a little. You could tell both teams maybe just trying to get comfortable being in that setting, being in that stage or whatever, settling some of the nerves. And I know people say we got the experience on our side, it's still, even on that stage, you still can tend to get a little nervous and play a little tight and stuff like that. But yeah, once that fumble, the punt fumble happened and we scored to take the lead, I kind of had a feeling that we're not losing this game. Like I don't care what the Niners do from this point on. Like we're not losing this game. It's too much momentum on our side. It was too many things that was kind of bouncing our way at that point. Even though it kind of still looked a little bleak or whatever. I thought the second half adjustments by both Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo were incredible. I clearly thought that our coaching staff outcoached the Niners staff, especially in situations, certain situations. I feel like that game really came down to just a few critical situations that the Niners just didn't execute and capitalize on, and we did, and that's the reason why we're back-to-back champs. So never was really nervous leading up to the game, which was weird because like I'm always nervous before games and stuff like that or whatever. I was hella nervous before the AFC title game and things like that. But like once we got to that point, like I just wasn't nervous anymore because I just had a feeling like they were gonna find a way to go get it done. They just look, especially after the AFC title game, they look way too determined to finish this thing off the right way. And and especially with all the hate and the doubt and everything that came on with early in the season or whatever. So I know that was brewing in them. So I just didn't have a feeling that they were going to lose ever in that point in that game. But man, shout out credit to our players, man, for being in control in certain situations in that game and having the right head in that, in those situations to come up with those plays or whatever. So it was great, man. I'm glad we won. Glad we back-to-back champions. It was an awesome feeling. We got to experience 3 championships now with my dad or whatever. So that's always great to see, never got to experience those moments or anything. So we're living in the golden era, man. I'm enjoying it or whatever. I'm just ready now to attack this offseason and see if we can do this shit again.
Yeah, look, I a lot of ways. I mean, I can't believe that it happened. I mean, just for all of our lives, we grew up and just wanted the Chiefs to be able to win one title.
Just a playoff game at one point.
playoff game, man.
Just get past the wild card round, please.
And for it to have now come to this point where you have undoubtedly the best quarterback in the world and the best coach in the world, you're a team that has won back-to-back titles, that is a dynasty cemented with 3 titles in 5 seasons, and I mean all the wins, all the amazing moments. It was a lot. I was running around yelling. I was watching a Top Golf in Vegas, so I was just running around back and forth, just like yelling. I was so happy, even though I was standing, for 3.5 quarters because it was that stressful of a game. I will say the other thing that was great about it is that it took everybody. It took all 3 phases. Shout out to special teams. Obviously, Townsend had a great punt to be able to pin them deep. Also had another punt that was fumbled, and they were able to pick it up. Watson jumped on it, took full advantage of it. Harrison Bucker, awesome as usual. Continued his perfect postseason extra points, field goals, broke the Super Bowl record for field goal that Jake Moody had just set like 2 seconds earlier. He was awesome as he normally has been. Defense, I mean, Spags once again with incredible scheme to be able to put pressure on Brock Purdy on a consistent basis. Chris Jones, single-handedly with his pressure ability, taking away multiple touchdowns at times for the 49ers. Mike Pennell, a spectacular game for a veteran there. Just awesome. I mean, just shutting down the run. Tossing Trent Williams off the couch. It just had an amazing Hall of Famer. Trent Williams had an amazing Super Bowl from his perspective. Leo Chanel and Drew Tranquil showing incredible physicality against the run, being able to show their versatility as well. I mean, I thought the secondary, you can't say enough about the secondary. I mean, that duo of cornerbacks is undoubtedly the best cornerback duo in the league. I would venture to say those are two of the top 5 cornerbacks in the league from a versatility, from a
Say it
coverage,
again.
from a physicality standpoint as well. It's amazing what they're able to do. Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed, those two together, and everything that Spags was able to do, built off of what they could do from a coverage perspective, being able to shut down Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk one-on-one for the majority of the game was awesome. I mean, it's just so many great players on that defensive side of the ball that showed up and showed out. George Karlaftis, obviously, uh, being able to recover that fumble as well. Leo and Pinnell, helping to strip Christian McCaffrey in that moment as well. Um, from an offensive standpoint, it was uneven, obviously, to begin with. The 49ers came out, had a really good plan. You got to give Chase Young and Nick Bosa a lot of credit. They came up, they were able to apply a lot of pressure off the edge, and that was something that Donovan Smith specifically did struggle with at times. Um, but even so, I mean, it was just Rashee Rice, it was Travis Kelce in the moments that you need them to. It was Andy Reid getting to the creative concepts to take advantage of what the 49ers were doing throughout the beginning portion of the game, to make sure they were putting them into good positions. And at the end of the day, it was Patrick Mahomes being the best player on the world and not to be denied ultimately. Whether it was running the ball, whether it was throwing the ball, he did not have a flawless performance. Obviously, the interception was the one that he would want back. I'm sure he would want to play a little bit better throughout the first 3 quarters of the game. But this is what legendary players, all-time players are made of, is that when the game is on the line, you have to play at your absolute peak. He did that, and he was perfect. He checked the ball down when he needed to. He avoided those mistakes, and when he could take advantage, he surely did, whether it was with his legs or his arm. It was spectacular. I mean, he had close to 400 yards in the game between the ground and the air, and he deserved it because it was that special of a performance for Patrick Mahomes to lead them down on the game tying drive with that field goal, and then to finish the game off. To Miko Hardman, who to me gets a special shout out because he's a guy that's been lamented in Chiefs Kingdom, and for him to have stepped up the way that he was able to in that Super Bowl was very cool. Obviously, having the long touchdown, yes, 3-time champion Miko Hardman having a long catch that unfortunately got wiped off through the Pacheco fumble immediately after, but specifically being able to catch that touchdown was awesome to me. So the fact that we could sit there and praise those guys is amazing. So I will say, DG and CJ, is there any players that you guys just want to give a quick shout out for as far as the Super Bowl is concerned before we turn the page here?
Yeah. Trent McDuffie was the best
All-pro
player
Trent McDuffie
on the field that
Watch
night.
him
Like, I shout out to Leo. Mike Pinnell for the way he played.
We call him Leo Pinnell.
Yeah,
just combine them together.
I was thinking Leo
off the couch, Mike, baby.
Yeah, all those guys were great, but I really feel like Trent McDuffie really was on another planet. I don't know what got into him or whatever. I mean, he's been great all year, but it just seemed like his level of play went up. He made several crucial plays in that game that I think without him we don't win. So, shout out to Trent, man. The sky's the limit going into next season. I expect even more great things from him.
Two biggest plays of the game on defense were definitely, really 3 biggest plays, but the 2 pressures by Chris Jones. One pressure being in the red zone where he got in Brock Purdy's face, forcing him to not be able to read the whole field when Snead actually got beat on backside and Brandon Ayuk was wide open. So Chris Jones actually coming scot-free. They didn't block him. Crazy shocker. On third down, money down, they didn't block Chris Jones. That was hilarious. So he got back there in that play. Very like, if I'm the guard, I'm like, you decided to leave the dude that's an All-Pro Hall of Famer open. I'm like, okay. So that was
thank you for doing that, by the way.
Thank you, and thank you, Kyle, for calling empty set. That's another bad decision by you. But like DG said, you got outcoached. The other big play for me on defense was definitely Chris Jones had another one earlier, and the one right before overtime was another big one as well when he got pressured. But the other big one was Trent McDuffie. That slot blitz, obviously, is a great call by Spags. But when Trent is running, I think a lot of people don't realize some dudes just go for the hit, so it allowed the quarterback to still make the throw. He kind of baited Purdy into not knowing if I'm gonna jump or try to tackle you, so he kind of just jumped and kind of put his hand to block all angles, and he was able to get a pinky on it and kind of bat it away because if they would have scored right there, we would have to go down and score a touchdown before going into overtime, or they could have got the lead and probably would have lost. So those are the two biggest plays of the game: the Chris Jones pressure in overtime to get him that force the field goal, and then McDuffie's pressure right before in regulation to force overtime with that field goal as well. Those two big plays saved touchdowns, among other plays as well. But those are two of the biggest plays for me. And both of our guys who are all pro, two of our better players on our defense, showed up when we needed to the most. And the defense carried us from the Detroit game all the way to Vegas from playing the Niners. They did their thing the whole season. And it's nobody deserves the recognition more than Spags. Spags did his thing the entire year. Regardless of how the offense played, he never wavered, never got upset, never batted an eye, never said anything bad to the unit in the media. Never threw him under the bus, never got mad at Andy, just kept on chugging, told guys just keep working, keep coming to work, and keep chopping wood and getting better. And they did that all year. So I can't give enough up to Spags, man. It's Spags we trust. It's really a movement, man. If you ain't got a shirt, go get one. They're still available on. I think Justin Reed still got his pin to his Twitter. So if you ain't blocked, I know D-Max blocked, so he can't buy one. But anybody else, if you want to go get one, you can go get one. So, but no, man, like I'm so proud of this defense, bro. Like for all of the notion of Chiefs Kingdom, we've been known for being outside of like the Alex Smith, we've been known for being an offensive football team since Pat took over. And for us to win a championship with our defense being the force holder to do that, that's the true definition of a dynasty to me, is when you win in multiple ways, when you can't do essentially playing with your right hand, playing with your left, doing something you're not used to doing for a team. So for us to win this game and do it the way we did it in this season in the adversity, this one is definitely going to hold a special place for me. So no, I can't say enough about this team, man. There's nothing. The definition of resiliency is when you look up the 2023 Kansas City Chiefs for sure. I mean, you can get a shirt. I can order him one.
Yeah, you'd have to order me one too, because obviously I can't. Not allowed to. It is what it is. It's you mentioned obviously being able to win in multiple ways, and I think that's a huge piece of it. It's tough. I mean, you have to do so many different things to win a Super Bowl, just one. And for this team to have now stacked 3 in 5 years is incredible. It's really, it leaves me speechless time to think about it, because they, like you talk about, the different ways, all the different permutations of roster building that they had to go through, of being able to do it. It's awesome. It's awesome to see the way that this defense has been remade and them step up on that side of the ball. It's awesome to see special teams step up. It's awesome to see the way the offense has evolved, and it all came together for this team to win it all. I will say, just to wrap up the Super Bowl, obviously a lot of talk about legacy-wise and what it means. Yeah, this is now Game Manager. Legacy-wise and what it means for the main characters of this team and everything. I mean, do you guys think that there's a bigger winner than everybody else as far as the main legacy guys? Reed, Mahomes, Kelsey, Jones, Spags. Is there a guy that stands out to you as far as those guys are concerned, as far as their legacies being cemented in Chiefs Kingdom or just around the league?
I mean, in general, before this playoff started, I gave out that stat about the players with 5 straight 75-plus scrimmage yard games, with Isaiah Pacheco being on that list, with guys like Walter Payton, Emmitt Smith, Terrell Davis, Frank Gore. So obviously, your first 2 years in the league, you get back-to-back Super Bowl. That's a hell of a start. So I think going on from here, if Pacheco can continue to do what he's doing, continue to have 1,000-yard seasons and dominate and be generally healthy and be available, which he's pretty much done his first 2 years in the league, I think he has a great chance to have a really good career when it's all said and done. And we know running backs' career span is usually like 6 years, if they even make it that far. So I think a guy that could benefit a lot from this would be a guy like Isaiah Pacheco. We expect this role to be expanded and be used even more, especially running backs under Andy Reid usually tend to have great careers going down the road. So I think this could be a great springboard to the start of his career for Pacheco for sure.
Yeah, I'll go to the defensive side of the ball. I think it does a lot for the young guys like Trent and George, especially with the trajectory of how their careers are kind of going. You're already now a 2-time champion. You can add that to your resume for Trent. You're all pro in your second season, and as well as a 2-time champion. So if this keeps going the way we think it's going to keep going, I mean, we could be looking at these guys by the time they're in year 8 and 9 as, first ballot guys, if they, are able to put up the stats and and keep stacking some of the all pros and stuff like that or whatever. So I think it does a lot for them, for their young careers. To already win 2 in your first 2 years is
Crazy.
You couldn't ask for a better start to a career or whatever. So for those guys, yeah. And then like Ross said, I think for Veach, this is huge to have 3 rings now added to your resume as a GM. And if you're able to go back next year and do something a team has never done in this league, I don't think it's no question that Veach is definitely a Hall of Famer as a general manager.
We're one blown Achilles or back
injury
injury away from having 4 rings. That's the crazy part. If Mitch don't go down in 2020 or Fisher don't go down in the AFC Championship game of all games, if one of those tackles are available, I think that game in Tampa Bay is a lot different, in my opinion. So 4 Super Bowl appearances, 3 wins, could easily be 4 for 4. So it's like great, like you said, DG. These 2 years we weren't supposed to win technically coming into the roster. You're not going to operate without Tyreek. This year, there's too much fluctuation with the offense. The defense has too much to work with. The defense hasn't been used to being the face of your franchise. They're not going to be able to do it for a whole 17-game season, and they did do that. So now, if we are able to fix this receiver room and keep most of the defense intact, what's this team going to look like in 2024? So this is probably the most exciting offseason I've had in a while. Like, usually we've always had some kind of drama, whether it been how are we going to replace this, how are we going to improve this room. Now I just go in there with peace, knowing like whatever we do, we usually tend to make the right decision in the last 6, 7 years, 10 years that Veach has been here under GM. So there's really only a couple big pieces that we really have to really focus on, obviously outside of Chris and Snead and their contract situations. But we're kind of playing with house money anywhere else, honestly, because we've done a great job of finding value in great other positions. Trey Smith, a starter, got him late in the round. Snead, Pacheco, so many other players on this roster that we found on day 2 and day 3. And when you have a trend of finding great value in players, it's easier to rebuild your roster when guys leave, especially when we expect other guys to have like either like cap casualty cuts, like whether it be MVS or guys leaving free agency like Willie Gay. You have faith in your team knowing that they've done right by you in other rooms, that they know how to find great value in later rounds for sure.
Yeah, undoubtedly. And I think the other thing about it, when you talk about the legacies that are involved in this entire run, is God, I do really want to see Steve Spagnuolo going into the Hall of Fame. Him to have as many rings as he does from a coordinator position, I think that'd be really cool. And you know, if you want to talk about impact on the game like this, it's very difficult. And I don't always love this argument, but it's very difficult to tell the story of the NFL without Steve Spagnuolo. Everybody talks about that 2007 Patriots team and how dominant they were, and him holding them to 14 points in the Super Bowl. That is always going to be a massive moment in NFL history. Now, him being a part of this dynasty of winning 3 rings, that's a major part of NFL history. There's only been 5 of these, or maybe 6 of these, that you call true dynasties in NFL history. He's got to be mentioned in those annals, and so I think that's probably the coolest part of the legacy. And you know, we'll have plenty of time to talk about Mahomes' legacy and Andy Reid's legacy and everybody else that we're talking about. But look, you talk about the offseason, man. We do have to get into the offseason, and it is an exciting one in my opinion. It's a lot of moving pieces. I think that we all kind of agree it begins with 2 players specifically, Chris Jones and L'Jarius Sneed, expiring contracts. Both guys, pillars of what this defense was able to do. Both all-pro caliber players, even if L'Jarius Sneed did not make the team. Those guys deserve their flowers for what they've done for Chiefs Kingdom just to this point. And they'll always be remembered very fondly here. But there are decisions to be made as far as the Chiefs are concerned. And so we are going to go through a choose your own adventure off-season type of way of doing this. So we have 3 scenarios. One is keeping both L'Jarius Sneed and Chris Jones. DG is working on that currently, trying to crunch the numbers to figure out how to get that done. Oh, CJ's doing that.
I got
so
keep
CJ's doing keeping both of them. DG is doing keep Chris Jones and let L'Jarius Sneed walk or trade him, tag or trade him. I left that up to DG. And then I am doing L'Jarius Sneed being captain Chiefs Kingdom and Chris Jones walking. and trying to figure out how the hell to replace Chris Jones, which is, that's not going to be easy because you can't replace Chris Jones. You can only hope to try and replace him in the aggregate. So I'll say this first and foremost before we necessarily get into my specific scenario today. CJ and DG, my question is this. Do you think this team can turn around and remake this roster if it does not have Chris Jones going into next season?
My only caveat, I've said it since the summer when we started the whole Chris Jones holdout. If Chris Jones leaving this roster, which we know it's a possibility, even though him screaming at the parade saying he doesn't want to leave, which I full-heartedly believe, which obviously it sounds good on the stage until you have to actually put pen to paper and talk numbers. I want Chris to be here, but if losing Chris Jones entices us to go get the receiver we wanted for the future since trading away Tyreek Hill, I'm fine with that because we know this offense is going to have to eventually get back to being in the mold of who they are. The defense can't carry this team forever. They did an anomaly this year by being the force feeder while we won. But getting to the point where we need to be, if we can move off Chris Jones and get value for him, I would love that. But if like DG, it's kind of the scenario, do you want to tag and trade Snead or would you rather try to get value for Chris? Well, it's going to be kind of hard to tag and trade Chris because his cap hits 32 M's according to his contract. So if losing Chris helps us get the receiver we want, I'm fine with that. I'm cool either way. But from a team standpoint, you'd much rather tag Snead because he's a cheaper player. So if we get a receiver out of it, I'm fine. Like losing a great player helps our offense get back to who they are. So
yeah, this is why I tell people, man, being you think you want Bravich's job?
hell no.
It is.
Not today, boy.
Like this is why I wholeheartedly trust in what he's gonna do, and trust his plan because he's proven to us that, in the last couple, like CJ said, in the last couple of years, it may be a tough decision, but is it the right decision? And then this is what happens when you win titles, man. At some point everybody can't stay together. It just has to, it has to be a change. It has to be a switch up. I think that they can survive and still be very competitive without Chris Jones. I just think that Spags, to me, in my opinion, would lose something that I feel like he does a lot of scheming for. Chris does a lot for this defense that just a lot of other players just can't come in and do. And I think that's going to be something that you're obviously going to miss, having that special chess piece in the middle of your defense, a guy who can easily have double-digit sacks year in and year out, and is probably arguably the most dominant interior lineman in the NFL. I think they can do it, but it's tough to see right now, of how that would look without him. But if what I feel like Veach and them have shown me over the years, if they're gonna do something, they're gonna stick to their philosophy, which is not paying guys big money that are over 30 or 30 and older, and stick to being committed to giving guys second contracts and a guy like L'Jarius Sneed. So they got a tough decision on their hands, man. Like I said, before we came on the show, I don't want Brett Veach's job at all. It's too difficult for me. I would be up too late at night thinking about these decisions or whatever. So he's got his work cut out for him, but I trust and believe in what he's gonna do, and I trust his plan if that's the case. So it's late in Chris Paul.
They got two molds they're trying to break right now. We don't pay guys over 30, is allegedly. And then obviously DBs, Beach is kind of Teflon on when it comes to finding DBs. When we found, obviously, plenty of DBs you can name. Even Charvarius Ward before he moved on, Rashard Fenton. For the love and hate he got, he still played a lot of minutes, a lot of snaps for us. Obviously Snead, obviously guys like Josh and Jalen. We found a lot of good DBs later on in draft. Shamari's the next one in line. It's going to be hard to decide. The second contract is the easier one to give, but Chris Jones is a Hall of Famer, man. And I love Snead, bro, but Jesus Christ, like if you got to think, like, bro, blocking Chris Jones and not blocking Chris Jones from any offensive coordinator standpoint, that changes everything if he's not on the field. Snead is an amazing corner, and I'm not knocking him at all. He had an all-pro year. He was the best corner in football, I think we all agree. But if he's not on the field, I think we could survive that hit more than if Chris Jones is on the field like D-Max. It's hard to replace him, bro. He's top two. If it ain't Aaron Donald, I'm not having a conversation about who's the best D tackle in football the last couple of years. I think he was DPOI last year, in my opinion. He was kind of snubbed, but it's just from a schematic standpoint, as an offensive lineman, your day just got 10 times easier if Chris Jones isn't on the field. It got easier without Snead on the field, but not at the level of Chris, just because he affects everything you do from a protection standpoint to how you want to run your offense, to your tempo. You want to win quick game, screen game, everything you do changes when 9-5's not on the field. So, and I know he's over 30, but he still looked like Chris Jones all year. Like, we all were making fun of him in the Chargers game when he was running around trying to chase who was the backup for the Chargers
Easton
again?
Stick.
Easton Stick, trying to get a sack. We were like, bro, he has like 35 pressures, and all he's doing is just strictly rushing because he still looked like Chris Jones. Like, and I know the age is a factor, and you want to get rid of a guy too early before it's too late, but God, he still looks good, bro. So it's gonna be a hard. I'm like DG. I don't want to make this decision. I kind of think I know which way the Beach would lean based off his history, but it's gonna be a hard call either way. It's gonna be tough.
It's going to be an impossible call either way, to be honest with you. But look, I will say this. Obviously, I am doing the like Chris Jones walk scenario. I am doing that scenario. It is what it is. But there is a narrow pathway, in my opinion, I think, to keeping both of these guys. And obviously, CJ will get into it. I mean, I think that there's a chance that Chris Jones kind of takes over his negotiating and says, look, I want to be a Chief for life. Negotiate as hard as you can, but let's get this done. Let's keep Snead together. Let's go after this three-peat. I think that there's a chance that happens. Unfortunately, if he does get to the open market, then I think that's a little bit of a signal that he's going to be gone, because I don't think the Chiefs are going to wait around to see what ends up happening with him. And maybe there's still a Hail Mary attempt there at the end of it or whatever, but yeah, you could definitely send it to me. I'll put it behind me.
Yeah,
that maybe, yeah,
I'll
there's a Hail Mary attempt that happens after free agency opens and after he finds out his market. But I just would be hard pressed to figure out if you would end up seeing him come back at that point. But I think there is a chance that you can extend Chris Jones, you can tag Steed, and you can move forward and get that done. And obviously, CJ will be going through that process. Hey, there it is, back to back. Nice, I love it. I should have. I don't know if I have.
They gave these away at work. These are pretty nice. I can get y'all.
Oh, those are nice. Damn.
Oh yeah,
Did you give me one?
I'll see. I'll go grab them at work. I'll go grab one.
Nice little. Okay. Anyway, so yes, as we start this, and yes, like I said, I have this scenario in which we are losing keeping L'Jarius Sneed and losing Chris Jones. And what I would do if I were Veach in that scenario. And so, we're going to get it started here. Let me see if I can pull this up effectively.
Have an open mind, everybody. An open mind. We're this is just predictions. Don't get angry.
Yes, please.
We're covering all scenarios. It's not
right.
all scenarios.
God. You guys can see this, right? You guys can see the notes and the over the cap. I want to make sure that you guys can actually see it before. Okay, yeah, we're good. All right. So here we go. Let's start from the top. L'Jarius Sneed and losing Chris Jones. So for the cap space needed, obviously to retain L'Jarius Sneed, and just generally speaking, as far as the offseason is concerned. Restructuring about $20 million of Mahomes' signing bonus is the beginning portion of this. Again, Mahomes' contract is designed to be restructured each year. You can get a maximum about, I think it's $32 million, either one of those. To absolutely max it out. But again, an important thing to always remember with the Chiefs is they're always a middle of the pack spending team as far as cash is concerned, not cap space, but cash is concerned. They're not going to take all of Mahomes' money, because they want to save some for the future as well, that they can also restructure as needed, but also because that's a $30 million or $32 or $37 million check that you have to write immediately for Mahomes. That's not to say that Clark Kurt doesn't have the money. It's just to say that he's not necessarily always going to be inclined to spend that cash. So $20 million, I think that's plenty of space. Next one is extending Justin Reed for about 3 years and $40 million. $10 million of that would be guaranteed, which would be added on top of what he's already owed as far as this year is concerned. That lowers his cap hit down and allows you to do some other things. His cap hit, it saves you about $7 million on the cap this year. And $40 million sounds like a lot of money. But again, most of your guaranteed money is going to be between the next 2 years. You can get out of that contract in 2026 as you need, or 2027 as you may need as well. Next cuts, MVS. Thank you for your service. We love playoff MVS, but your $11 million is way too valuable to not leave you. And again, there's been a lot of talk about maybe MVS comes back on a cheaper deal. It's possible. I would say it's an outside chance. It would not be a priority from my standpoint. And I also would be cutting Kadarius Toney, not necessarily from a money standpoint, just from a I don't want the headache anymore standpoint, to be honest with you guys. So ultimately, that lands you with around $54 million in cap space. And again, it's rough estimates, but obviously we're using shout out to Over the Cap's cap calculator for allowing us to do that. So anything DG and CJ before I get into what will happen next as far as those moves that I made?
I mean, like I was telling you before the show started, I don't think there's no way. And I'm a little indifferent from how I was feeling this morning, but just the way the numbers line up, I don't see how they can do this without cutting MVS. Like that $11 million is too valuable for them at this point in time, especially if they want to be able to sign guys. I didn't really know that I guess the extending of Justin Reed would be kind of what you would say is a restructure.
Yeah,
spreading out his deal. Yeah, spreading out the money. So it's still I didn't know we could possibly do that. So that's new news to me. I knew the Mahomes restructure could happen. But yeah, I agree with the cuts of MVS. That $11 million is too valuable. And KT, yeah, I like I want to be able to work out with the kid, but at the end of the day, sometimes you just got to cut ties.
So anything for you, CJ?
I had a great idea. I would probably save it for my week, but it was going to involve It was going to involve Justin Reed, but no, it's just some flexibility in the DB room. Obviously, we've been known to draft great guys in that position and find good value and allow guys to step up and flourish in those roles. And Jabari Connor being above the learning curve faster than I thought he would be gives me a lot more encouragement in that room. So I think we have a lot more flexibility to work with Justin Reed. So I think I'll probably save my thoughts for my episode. But it's I know I have the challenge of trying to keep Snead and Chris, so everyone's gonna love me. But there's some guys gonna have to go. So
you get the popular scenario.
Yeah, everybody gonna like me until they figure out their favorite role player's gone. Then they're like, "Oh, what are we gonna do with him, TJ?" So it'll be my draft. My episode will be very draft heavy instead because we're gonna have a lot of young guys play, but it'll be very exciting for sure. But no, I like the scenario. It's MVS is an obvious cut. We kind of knew that was gonna happen. Outside of him, there's really no other big contracts. Drew was a 1 year, Mike was a 1 year, Charles Minnie was signed for 2 years, Justin Watson 2 years. So yeah, outside of the MVS, Justin Reed, that was kind of going to be my suggestion. What do we do with Justin Reed? But you already extended him, so yeah, that pretty much solved everything for me.
Yeah, and as far as the Justin Reed is concerned, like I know I've had my criticisms of it, and I do still feel like he is a liability in coverage versus tight ends 1-on-1 and man at times. But what he showed was his ability. He showed his ability to come downhill, really lay the wood on a lot of running backs, be an effective blitzer, and a lot of times in zone coverage is solid. So when you could do all those things as a safety, I think there's still value to be provided there. And obviously, as a leader in that locker room, it's a veteran type of presence. So I'll have no problems if they end up extending him, which I think will end up happening based on their cap situation and the fact that him and Amini, who are really the only double-digit cap hits that they can try and move in some significant way with an extension. And it seems like Amini, who was not all that amenable to the extension that they offered him. So that would be my.
You see that?
It's coming. Country.
Put Harold back up. Hey, Country, I know you watch. You see that? What Harold just said. Yeah, the fans want it. Go ahead. Yeah, listen to them. Yeah, do that. Yeah, church.
Want that TTT?
Yeah,
Tell
TTT
the
gang.
truth,
You know
baby.
what I'm saying? Yeah. But go ahead, DJ. My bad, DJ.
You good. So yes, around $54 million in cap space after those initial moves before the new league year opens up. First things first, I'm placing the tag on Jerry Sneed. I'm placing the tag on Jerry Sneed because I'm not entirely sure where the contract negotiations are going to go, what the cap figure would end up being, what it looked like. So for now, we're going to use that as a placeholder to negotiate throughout the spring and summer, and eventually, get more of a long-term deal that I think will land in the 3 to 4 year range. He is a guy that's in that 26, 27 age.
Are you
Right
doing an
on.
exclusive tag?
Or the
Yeah,
transitional tag.
yeah, no,
Non-exclusive.
yeah, exclusive. I don't want you to negotiate
You
with
can't
anybody.
talk to nobody else.
I don't want them talking to nobody
Only
else.
us. Exclusive tag, son.
We talking. You ain't talking
Well,
about
just
us.
us.
Pick up that
Give me
phone
your
for nobody but us.
give me your phone. Yeah,
That
no,
phone ain't working.
I'll be placing the exclusive tag, which would be around $19 million as a placeholder, and still be able to do what I need to throughout this initial phase of the off season as far as this is concerned. So first for the people that we're retaining, Drew Tranquil, 2 years, around $14 million. I think that's fair value. That'll be able to keep him here. I think that he is a very good piece on this defense, specifically if you're going to see Willie Gay walk out the door. I think somebody will price him out. I think there's too many teams that just need really good athletic linebackers, and that's what Willie Gay provides. So somebody will give him a significant chunk of change. And I think that means that Drew Tranquil will come back, and it obviously seems like that man very much enjoyed his time in Kansas City, and I think
Way
he'll
better than LA.
way better than LA.
Way better.
So keeping him, he'll essentially be your starting will linebacker next to Nick Bolton. And obviously Leo Chanel really being the Sam, kind of hybrid edge that he played this year. And I think that's a really good top three with Cam Jones and Jack Cochran as the backup guys / special team support. Wharton, Jack Cochran, Nasty Johnson, and Malik Herring all on their restricted free agent tenders. Basically no money for all of those guys, but I think all four of those guys could be important pieces for with the depth / contributors onto this team next year. Joshua Warren looked like himself coming off that ACL towards the end of the season. I think that's a very important guy. Should you lose Chris Jones to need to have in this interior defensive line room that is obviously thin? Jack Cochran, like I said, important linebacker depth, especially special teams. Nazi Johnson, who we saw was a little bit ahead of his rehab schedule. We saw the video of him. They loved what he was going to do, during training camp, and we'll see exactly how he's going to be able to continue that. And I hope that he can be another important piece of this DB room, certainly speaking, moving forward. Malik Herring, he gave you solid snaps. I think that he continued to do that in the edge room that at the start of next year is going to need some bodies, given the fact that Charles Omenihu is going to, in my opinion, probably take until midseason to come back. So good thing to retain him. And so now we get into the heavy hitters, outside signings. Start with the headliner here, Christian Wilkins, signing 4 years, $82 million, $60 million guaranteed, $20 million signing bonus. So first and foremost, this contract is pretty much based on what Dexter Lawrence signed. Dexter Lawrence is a little bit younger. I think he's a little bit better of a player. So I kind of, just took a little bit off of what Christian Wilkins is going to be making. So the thing with Christian Wilkins is this. He's currently the Miami Dolphins want to keep him badly, flat out. But they're also $55 million over the cap. So that combined with where Christian Williams is kind of at is going to be the question mark of, can you keep him with the tag? Can you work out an extension before he hits the market? Where exactly is that going to land? It's going to be an interesting thing to see if they end up cave to him. Should Christian Wilkins not necessarily come to fruition, I do think that Leonard Williams is a cheaper option that can come in and give you a floor of what he can do as far as an interior run stopper, and then also on passing downs. He had a really good year being able to actually be more of a pass rusher. I think that he would be a useful alternative, certainly not even for close to this money, but a little bit more in the $18 million a year range. Can get the job done for Leonard Williams. And I think that he would be a worthwhile signing alternative if Wilkins does end up being returned by the Miami Dolphins as a heavy hitter. And I think you do actually need to have some type of floor for the interior of this team from a veteran perspective, because you can't just replace him with all the rookies. You're just not going to be able to do that with Chris Jones, especially now with Charles Manhue being out at least to start next year. And then the second one, and then I'm going to get you guys' thoughts after this. Tyler Lockett, I do anticipate him being cut by the Seattle Seahawks. He's obviously a guy that I very much love as a veteran wide receiver to bring in. 2 years, $16 million total, $8 million a year, I think would be excellent value for him. What he can provide. He has the inside-outside versatility that you know that they love from their wide receivers. Still can get deep. Had a very good success rate versus man coverage, which one-on-one versus man was something that we struggled with the entirety of the season. I think that he really could come in and be the perfect veteran wide receiver that you move into the draft with and feel good about to pair with Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce to start out. So your thoughts on those two kind of big moves and the guys that I retained, CJ and DG?
Yeah, I love it, man. The Christian Wilkins thing really got that got my attention. I think
Intriguing.
that although like we said, it's gonna always be hard to replace Chris Jones and what he does, but I feel like if we're gonna stick to what Veach's philosophy is paying younger guys in their second deals or whatever, I could see that happening, and I could clearly see them bringing him in and him being a centerpiece of this defense. You know, I think Spags could do some really special things with him as well too. Maybe not be the sack, maybe not give you the same sack production that that Chris would be able to provide for you, but still an anchor in that middle of that defense that people would definitely have to game plan for. I love the Tyler Lockett thing if he gets cut because I think, like you said, it provides so much versatility as far as what they like to do with receivers playing inside, outside. And I love the having him as a veteran presence in that locker room. Tyler Lockett's always seemed like a guy who's just about football, about winning. Now, no major, news around him or anything like that. I feel like he'll come in and lock in and really try to learn things. And I think Andy would love to have a player like him. A guy who can really think the game on the field as well too. I love the plan. I would be definitely down for it if this is the route they're gonna go. My only question mark would be, I just wonder how long it would take them to get that deal done with Snead to have him locked up. But hopefully that'll be done by the end of the summer. But I definitely want them to put that exclusive tag on him so he can't talk to any other teams and we can ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my thought.
I'll also say I did have some alternatives as far as as far as wide receiver is concerned to Tyler Lockett. Another guy I know not necessarily as hot as other people will say. I do think that Hollywood Brown could be a solid option for the $10 to $12 million for a 1-year deal. The fact that he's still young, the fact that because he had a down year coming off of injury, I think he could give you kind of a Juju bounce back type of year as far as depressed value and can come in, give you that deep threat ability that you really were missing in the offense this year because of his speed. I mean, he still gives you that unique aspect to the game from a wide receiver perspective. Doesn't give you the veteran presence of Tyler Lockett, but I think his value would still supersede what you would be paying him in that standpoint. So that would be an alternative as well. Go ahead, CJ.
I like Christian Wilkins. How old is he again? Going in
He's
next
29.
year? Jesus Christ, he's old. I didn't think he was that old. He did come out of Clemson. He's been in the league. He goes by so fast. Ugh.
Yeah.
I like his game, though. He's always been a guy that can stop the run and get after quarterback. More athletic than for his size. I like his game. I wish he was a little younger. I'll probably put him in a pending situation. I like the idea. Yeah. I got to look at other lists, see what other guys are available as far as the D tackles. I love Tyler Lockett. I think we're all on board with that. One of the best deep ball, if not arguably, as far as I think at one point during Seattle, nobody had a higher completion percentage of passes over 20 or 30 yards down the field outside of Tyler Lockett when him and Russell Wilson were at their peak. So as far as doing everything we wanted MVS to do, track the ball, being in the right spot, contested catches downfield, that's everything Tyler Lockett's been his entire career. So I love that deal, especially for that much money. He won't be expensive because of his age as well. So knows the system, veteran, been in big moments. I love that play. I think he'd be an amazing connection with Pat. I like the Drew Tranquil bringing him back for sure. Obviously, since Willie Gay is leaving, I noticed some other deals that we were looking at on there as far as the guys who need to get paid. Drew Lock as a backup QB. We're going to have to talk about this one.
Y'all,
Yes.
like-
So we can begin the discussion of kind of the smaller deals. So these
I
two
like
guys,
that
because
Gibson. I like what you're thinking with A Gibb too. I like A Gibb.
right. So as far as the smaller deals are concerned, and again, some of this is kind of pending when that Snead extension would get done. But Drew Lock, I do believe for a backup quarterback, I think he has enough tools to work with. I think that, you saw some flashes of him last year for Seattle play well. I think that what you can have him come in for Andy Reid is provide you a stable backup for 2 years, and then you can say goodbye to him or keep him. I wouldn't be perfectly fine with Drew Lock as my backup quarterback personally. I know that other people would feel differently about that as well. Antonio Gibson, excellent pass protector. Can catch the ball out of the backfield, gives you a little bit of juice on the ground. He's the guy that I think could be a very good veteran complement to Pacheco, and it would be dirt cheap. So I would like to pair him with Pacheco, and then you go into the draft and try and add some more to that running back room as well. I'm not opposed to bringing back Jet McKinnon, certainly, as far as that's concerned. He's just kind of, if you're able to bring him back, we'll see. And then, again, as it pertains to actually those need extension targets are concerned, Josh Jones, a tackle, a guy coming up from Houston Texans. Solid guy, can kind of play both tackle positions, a swing tackle, veteran presence that you can bring in, similar to what you did with Donovan Smith, but just to make sure going into the draft you're covered a little bit. I would not necessarily bring back Donovan Smith. I think that you saw that he's getting into that he's just washed type of area at the end of the season, and so I would not be investing back into him personally. Noah Fant, he's really athletic. He's 26. If you had the money to spend it tight end to bring in Noah Fant, I would love that. Specifically in this offense that runs a lot of 12 and 13 personnel. But he's probably going to get paid a little bit more than it'll be in our price range. So from that perspective, a bit more of an inline tight end type of blocker that's along the lines of Blake Bell, Adam Trotman, who I think is a better receiving tight end than Blake Bell, I think would make a lot of sense. Also dirt cheap as far as the tight end option is concerned. And then Shelby Harris, run stuffing defensive tackle, I think is a guy that you could certainly target. And again, this is kind of in the after you get L'Jarius Sneed his longer term deal to lessen and take him from that franchise tag cap hit to a extension cap hit, that'll open up a little bit more cap space. So therefore you can do that from that perspective. So anything as far as that is concerned, CJ or DG?
No, overall, all good ideas. I think as far as like running backs,
I'm with it. If this is the plan, I'm with it.
Gibson's an option. Bringing back Jet. We mentioned DeAndre Swift in the space me and D-Mac was in before we hopped on. That's another option for it. He was on a 1-year deal in Philly. I love him. We actually go ahead.
I did have one about the Drew Tranquil thing. You don't think that would be? You don't think they would do a 3-year deal with him?
I can see it being a 3-year deal.
20,
yeah, absolutely.
Was he 27, 20?
He's 20. He's 29 as well. It could be a 3-year deal. I can certainly see that because I mean it's 2 years of real money, really only 1 year of real money, depending on how your guarantee has been working out. So I can see it being a 2 anywhere from 2 to 3. I'd be comfortable.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
I feel like that would spread his money a little bit further for them.
Yeah,
kind of give them a little wiggle room in there.
Yeah, I'd be cool with 2 or 3. Yeah, 29 is not that old, so yeah. If Drew was locked in. As far as receiver-wise, if Tyler Lockett doesn't get cut, which I presumably think he does, other guys that we could go after, I'm not the biggest Hollywood Brown fan. If we are going to draft somebody just to be filling an MVS role, which is essentially what we're looking like, what's Josh Reynolds' projection?
His was around $3 million. So I was going to mention, let me see if I can.
He's not terrible.
Yeah, so Josh Reynolds was about 2 years, $5.5 million according to PFF. I really like Josh Reynolds. If you
for
can
the MVS role, I do too. I like him too.
Yeah, I'd absolutely bring him in. No doubt about it. I'd have no qualms about that. And another guy, KJ Osborne, who's a little bit more on the younger side, but I saw a little bit of his ability really to kind of get after it as far as where to sit down in zones. Being able to have a little bit of yak, I would not be opposed to bringing him in on an extremely cheap deal as well. So those would be kind of the lesser wide receivers as far as that's concerned.
Absolutely.
What about a guy like Shark? Would you be interested?
Does he seem washed or am I tripping?
If he stays healthy,
Yeah, that's my
that's-
point. I think
that's-
he's washed.
I mean, he was relatively healthy, but he also didn't do much. I mean, he just didn't do
Yeah,
much for Carolina last year.
Yeah.
And I mean, but some of that was Carolina just not being able to put out a competent offense and protect Bryce Young at times. So that's also part of it. I'm not against DJ Chark. Like, I'm not vehemently opposed to it like I would be a Gabe
Yeah.
Davis, because I think of what the price is going to end up being for Gabe Davis. But, you know, I'm a little bit cooler on DJ Chark than I am for Osborne and Reynolds.
Yeah.
We're talking
I think
about
they
bigger
had some,
receivers. I take him.
they had some interest, I think, in Reynolds the last go around for his
Josh.
free agency. Yeah.
I mean, outside of that NFC Championship game, which was kind of outlandish, like we're not outlandish, but out of his character for those drops, he's usually sure-handed. He was sure-handed in LA with the Rams. We saw him when we played him there in the shootout game, and he's been sure-handed his last couple seasons in Detroit. So I would love Josh Reynolds, and like D-Man said, the value would be great. I think he essentially could do the same thing MVS is doing and be more consistent as far as his hands. So I would like Josh Reynolds in that role. That'd be a nice guy to have.
One more guy. What about Tyler Boyd?
Yeah, I'm good on Tyler Boyd.
He can play. I'm not saying he doesn't suck, but he's not really a guy I want to go after. No, I'm cool.
It should be said, based on the scenario, I'm not cutting Sky Moore. I'd rather just develop Sky Moore as a slot than sign Tyler Boyd personally.
Yeah, he doesn't really give us anything different. The reason I like bringing in guys like Tyler Lockett and Josh Reynolds, or even if we wanted to entertain Gabe Davis, is because they could do similar things that we need from MVS consistently, stretching the ball down the field, and obviously going to make those contested catches, 20-plus yards, explosive plays. So Gabe Davis is obviously out of those three, the one that's the most explosive, but I don't want to sign Kiki Q. I haven't heard that name in a while. I like Gabe Davis's game, but it's just the price point is going to be as much too high for me. And just for that value of what he's going to bring to our offense, I don't think it's worth the money. So I think the most realistic ones really would be like a Lockett or Josh Reynolds. And outside of those two, you decide to go after somebody in the draft, which I highly think we're going to sign one veteran if we decide to not bring MVS back just to have in that room. So, no, I would love Tyler Lockett or Josh Reynolds for sure. Either one. There's some other guys we can talk about that may be available after offseason is about, but we'll see who actually gets cut and who doesn't. So there's some other guys I'll put on my list.
For sure.
I mean, tag and trade. I think.
Do you guys have any specific quarterbacks that you guys have thought of? I don't want to spoil anything for your guys.
As far as backups?
Yeah, as far as backups are concerned.
I don't mind the lock thing. I like what Ross just said about Brissett being here. I'm always just down for them to get a veteran guy, that kind of works in Andy's system. I guess you could say. I wouldn't be opposed to them bringing Gabbard back, but I think they have better options out there. So.
Kind of tough. A lot of the guys that I want are probably going to end up being on rosters already. I would have loved Gardner Minshew, but he's going to be on the roster. Sam Darnold, I wouldn't hate.
No.
Just because like he can move. Obviously, we have a lot of movement in with our quarterbacks and knowing the system, but he's not necessarily the oldest guy. So, yeah, it's kind of tough. Most of the backup quarterbacks usually already on roster, like Mariota, PJ Walker. Gardner is going to probably end up being the backup in Indianapolis. Joe Flacco is probably going back to the couch. He said he don't want to be a backup, which is stupid because I would take Joe Flacco right now. But he said he doesn't want to be a backup. He said he does not want to be a backup. He said he'll go with the league. That's what I said the same thing, DG.
You're gonna be on the couch again.
I would love Joe Flacco to come in here and hold the clipboard, but he said he doesn't want to do that anymore. So, but that was the most ideal situation. So, hey,
I want to know the context in which he said that because, like, what?
It was go look at that game. What was that game? They clinched the playoffs in the regular season. I forgot. I think it was that Monday night game after the Jets. I think it was that one. I believe so.
Yeah.
I think it was that one. They were talking to him about, hey, how you feel about next year? I know it's kind of early, but he's like, yeah, I don't really have no visions of being a backup. I really want to come in and start. And I'm like, bro, you're kind of almost 40. I don't know what you expect to do the next 3 years in the career. You're going to come in and take someone's job unless you're going on a bad football team. So, no, theoretically, if if Andy could somehow convince Joe Flacco to come out of fake retirement again and, I don't know, pull a Nick Foles, I would love for Joe Flacco to be our backup. Veteran, like we said, knows the systems, played in big moments, came off the couch and was throwing 38, 39 attempts, so clearly he's ready. So I would love Joe Flacco to come be a backup, but that's just a pipe dream outside of the other guys that are kind of mediocre, like we just said. So
yeah, look,
it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be a little tough.
Trying to find a good backup in this league. There's not many good options out there, guys. Jameis Winston, y'all hate him. No. Oh, God, y'all hate him. Oh, God.
I personally, I would love Jameis Winston for vibes.
I know Jameis cool, but he's funny. I met him. He hella funny. I like him.
For vibes alone, I would love Jameis Winston.
Jameis on the roster would be funny. Y'all think they hate us now. Imagine Jameis Winston on the sideline getting us hyped. Bro, that'd be funny. That'd be so funny.
Oh, my God. It would be – it'd be spectacular. Because I
Twitter
mean,
will be
like
Twitter be broke. Twitter.
Oh, my God. I'm picturing now just having Jameis Winston on the sideline doing the swag surf. Like, it's just –
Hey, you a dog. You the GOAT. Be the GOAT, Pat.
Go be the GOAT, Pat.
Be the GOAT, Pat.
Oh, the hyping.
You think they hate us now? They show Taylor than Jameis. Taylor did. Oh my God. Either
W.
They'd lose their.
Oh yeah. Oh God. That was
all right.
I mean, he's been a backup before, so I like it. But no, it's hard to find good backups, man. Nobody thought Blaine Gabbert was going to come here out of nowhere. So I don't know what Andy's thinking, man. It'll be hard to think of like Carson Wentz. Do y'all hate it?
Yes.
No, not as a backup.
I know. I don't. It's not awful.
He's a backup, man. Like
he's a backup.
I mean, there are worse options. I suppose.
I could have told y'all Walker. Didn't that's what I'm saying. What y'all want me to say? Like,
yeah, it's tough. It's very tough.
I mean, go get Case Keenum, goofy ass. I don't know, bro. Like Case Keenum. I don't know who y'all want me to say. Joe Flacco is obviously the best option. We all agree. But after that, like, who else we gonna get? Sam. Do y'all want Sam Darnold? Like,
I wasn't ready for Case goofy ass. Okay, all right.
We need to get what's long neck in Houston? What's his name again?
Davis Mills.
Davis Mills, long neck Mills. Yeah, I'm cool with him too.
Long neck Mills is crazy.
Yeah, he got
okay, all right.
Good.
Let's wrap it up here. And I do want to be clear before we get into it. So obviously that was kind of the free agent, franchise tag wrap up of where exactly came into. And so Christian Wilkins as the big free agent signing, Tyler Lockett at the wide receiver position, retaining Drew Tranquil, and then obviously L'Jarius Sneed on the tag, and hopefully an extension gets done as you go throughout the spring leading up to the draft. And so given that context, I kind of went into the draft with that, build in mind for the roster and where exactly our needs were, still having a question mark at left tackle, even with Wanya Morris out there still, and obviously needing a wide receiver upgrade, to say the least.
If you can get Jalen McMillan right there, Jesus Lord, that'd be a steal.
Man.
Yeah, so
he's so good.
These are two separate scenarios for the draft. I did one obviously with trades. This one specifically was a trade back, which I think is far more likely than necessarily trading up. The other one where it was one in which, Tyler Guyton, who I think is the only realistic left tackle plug and play type of guy that could get to 32, falling to, basically in our lap and us taking him and kind of moving on from that perspective. Obviously addressing wide receiver in the second round, Xavier Worthy, a guy that I love. Being able to have a deep threat, Jalen McMillan, a guy that I think is flying a little bit under the radar, obviously due to his injury, and obviously Polk and what him and Rome were able to do this year was spectacular. McMillan, I think, still can be a very good wide receiver, and you pair him with either Lockett or Hollywood Brown from this perspective. I think that's kind of your top three going into next year. And Justin Watson at 4, then Sky at 5, and then you have a battle for what you want to do at 6 between the Justin Watsons and Nico Remigios of the world. From that perspective as well. Again, replacing what you need from the defensive line perspective, whether it's Christian Wilkins or Leonard Williams, even bringing back Tershawn Wharton with Neil Farrell on the roster still, you need interior pass rush. You just need him. Chris Jenkins, a guy that has edge to defensive line, versatility. You saw it for the defending champion as far as Michigan is concerned. That he had a hell of a season. I think he would provide you that interior pass rush. Leonard Taylor, obviously, on both of these drafts specifically, also a guy that, the flashes are there. You'd have to allow Joe Cullen to kind of develop him a little bit more. But boy, I think when Cullen got his hands on him, Leonard Taylor could be a very special player in this league. That's how much upside he does truly possess, in my opinion. Tackle position for the trade one, obviously not having Tyler Guyton there. Blake Fisher is a guy that has all the tools that I think any Hick would love to work with. And then you're able to develop him over time. You don't necessarily have the pressure. You can have him come in and compete with Wanya Morris for that left tackle position. And again, maybe have a veteran signing as well at that position later on down the line. Christian Boyd, a guy that I think had a very good Senior Bowl. I'd like to be able to have him on that defensive line as well. Tight ends, Kate Stover, a guy that I liked a lot at Ohio State, Jaheim Bell, both of those guys, very athletic, coming in, have the ability to block.
Stover, baby.
Kate Stover a little bit better in the blocking than Jaheim Bell is, but both of those guys I think can be receiving threats. Those guys are significant upgrades, in my personal opinion, over Blake Bell, what you had, and that makes your heavy personnel sets all that more dangerous. And then we get a little bit more into the depth pieces. Frank Gore Jr. And Will Shipley. I like Shipley more than Frank Gore Jr., but both of these guys have agility in space, have the ability to make guys miss, have the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. I think that that's what you need to be targeting as far as day 3 running backs to add to this room, regardless of who you end up signing. And I think they'd be very good compliments to Pacheco and Antonio Gibson in this case, as far as the scenario is concerned. Again, more depth pieces. Assuming that Nick Allegretti is not back, I think somebody will end up paying Nick Allegretti for some good interior offensive line help and see what he did throughout the playoffs. I'd still love to have Allegretti back, and I hope he does come back. But if he does not, then of course, and obviously the torn UCL actually does play maybe a little bit more into the Chiefs being able to retain him. But if not, then I think you need to, be able to target that as far as day 3 is concerned. Both of these guys have center ability, but they can also kick out the guard. So Andrew Ram and Chandler Bortolini, I think both of those guys, apply from both those standpoints. And look, you're never not going to go wrong going after Wisconsin and Oklahoma offensive linemen as far as I'm concerned. And then Tyron Hopper, which is a little bit of a homer pick, and Mizzou guy. I had to get a Mizzou guy on one of these drafts. It just had to happen. But again, adding to that linebacker room, having lost Willie Gay, just a little bit of depth from that perspective, I think it'd be a worthwhile selection. And Austin McNamara, best punter out of Texas Tech. Shout out to him. I just threw him on there at the end. Assuming that Tommy Townsend gets paid a lot of money and they don't retain him, a lot of money for punters, then in that case, you need to replace the punter. It'd be fine if it was a UDFA, but, I decided to throw him on this mock draft. So any initial thoughts from you guys' perspective as far as these 2 draft scenarios are concerned?
We getting old when you hear Frank Gore Jr. Jesus
yeah, Christ. Bro.
But we getting old as dirt.
Well, look, Frank Gore almost played long enough to play with Frank Gore Jr.
That's what I'm saying. That's how we getting his son already eligible. Crazy. I remember when he got signed.
I love the Tyler Guyton pick, especially getting a plug and play left tackle.
Def, Texas, and Oklahoma lineman. Can't beat it.
Right. The second one, it's obviously being a Longhorn fan. Xavier Worthy is my guy. I would love to see him in a
DG buy his jersey before it's even made.
Bro, he would instantly be my favorite player on the team.
DG gonna be in the store like.
I know X-Man is incredible player, incredible speed. If you're talking about stretching the field for real, what you need, And I also think that he can run some routes from time to time, when he feels like it or whatever. But
when you guys allowed him to, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff he ran was short. Yeah, he ran a lot of short.
Right. But I do feel like he has some upside to his route running. I think he has some good wiggle at the top of his routes if he's allowed to run certain things. But as far as stretching the field, man, like you can't ask for more from that guy. I think you're obviously. I would be shocked if he doesn't run one of the fastest 40s at the combine.
He should run like a 4.3 for sure.
Yeah.
He should run that 4.3 guy.
He can absolutely fly. Dynamic player, man. But I also like the Jalen McMillan pick. I think what he showed, especially throughout the season, being able to play inside, outside, and I think he does a might not have the same kind of speed that a Worthy would have, but can still get separation. Obviously, runs good routes. Those
got hands,
all
too.
three of those guys were incredible this year.
Yeah,
all of them.
So, wouldn't be mad at that at all. And then I think the other pick that I really like was the Cade Stover pick, just for the simple fact of trying to find somebody that can kind of,
Run and block.
yeah,
Yes.
and be able to take over once Kelsey is done.
As long as he passes a physical, I'm cool with him. That's my only flag with him. Great
Yeah.
player, but he had that fat knee brace on. D-Mac knows I'm
Right.
scared of dudes with fat knee braces, so I ain't trying to do
Yeah.
it. But no, everybody on the list,
it-
Will
it-
Shipley, I love him. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Go
No,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, and I want to let CJ talk about the draft picks as well. But I always make the point, what we see on tape, watching these guys, even going to the bowls and being able to see those things, and obviously them at the combine, it's only so much of the evaluation for these teams because the teams get the medicals. We don't necessarily see the medicals. We only hear about that really after the fact, after a guy starts sliding down the boards. These guys are able to sit in these interviews and talk to these guys one-on-one and ask them all manners of questions that probably sound nonsensical, but they mean a lot to these actual teams in the context of that. So that's why I always say to fans, just as a disclaimer, like the evaluations of prospects you may be told about or shown to, and we obviously apply to this as people not in that building. We only see so much of it compared to what those people on the inside do. So go ahead, CJ. Anything else as far as the draft is concerned you wanted to highlight?
If we really get down to 32, people may not like this. I would be perfectly fine with taking JT Sanders. I know people are opposed to taking tight ends early. I think he's really good. Like, I think he could be a tight end one in this league. For a guy that could transition into being a guy after Trav leaves, if we really decide to focus our offense on being tight end centric like it's been the last 7 years, I would love JT Sanders with our first pick. If not, we could trade back like D-Mac did with that second mock. And we take a Texas player, so DG would still be happy. I think he's the second best tight end in the draft behind Brock Bowers. I think he's that good. I think he's special. He can run, athletic. After the catch, he's good. I think he can be a decent blocker in this league. So I would love him in the second round for sure with our first pick.
Medicals is the only
Medicals
well, look,
for sure.
The beautiful thing about it is you're gonna get your chance to go ahead and put you a draft together for your
I got good ideas.
I know. Look, I say this, and I certainly do agree. I think JT is the second best tight end in this draft. I think that he can definitely be a tight end one in this league, no doubt about it. It's just when I'm trying to see if I can draft a tight end in the first round, it's like I'm gonna have to have a guy that I can run my passing game through. That's a very difficult proposition to end up finding in the draft in general because those are once in a generational type of players at that tight end position, and so it'd be difficult for me personally to take tight end in the first round. But I definitely understand from your perspective why you would, and look, I do think that all of those things that you talked about him do apply. Great hands, has the ability to run routes, has the ability to block, has the ability to be a super athlete at the position. It's just, can you run your passing game through him as the number one option? It's very difficult that he's going to be able to fulfill those shoes. And that's why I'm not probably going to go tight end in the first round ever. It's a realistic situation.
It's hard. It's hard. If anything, if you had to move back, I'd be okay with it. Running back wise, there's a lot of it. Running back, because I don't think you can mess up running back, honestly, in this draft. Like, you got Will Shipley, who was essentially like, if there's like a great value version of what you think Christian McCaffrey is, not just because he's white, but just because he's a great, obviously he can pass catch and he can run the ball. That's essentially what Will Shipley is, everything he did at Clemson. A guy that they put a lot of him on pass pro. He obviously ran the ball on short yardage a lot, so he'd be a versatile guy for sure. I love him out of the backfield because he can catch essentially everything. So I love that pick. Frank Gore is another good one. Cody Schrader, shout out to Mizzou. That's another great guy we can get. Jawar Jordan out of Louisville. That's another great running back we were talking about. Bucky Irving from Oregon. One of my guys, Juggins, I wish he wouldn't have came back to Ohio State. That's another guy I loved in the draft. One of my favorite running backs, I wish everyone would go watch tape with him, Blake Watson out of Memphis. I love him a lot. Like, I think he can be a third down back in this league and really be a 3-down back, but especially third down. So, tight end, Jaheim Bell, me and D-Mac have talked about him. Undersized, he's more of like that use check role. He can be like a H-back type guy, but I love him as well. But yeah, there's a lot of guys that I'm sure, like, I have a list of players that I like, so I'll probably try to somehow put them in a mock, and I'm sure me, me, Country, and Chuck, and the whole gang, we'll try to put together we'll probably put together a graphic of like our top. Each of us will pick like our top favorite player that we like and try to fit them into our mock. So, but no, it should be there's a lot of good options in this draft as far as like offensive weapon wise. So I don't think Beach could go wrong, honestly. I think the biggest question is like D-Max said is like, what are we going to do at left tackle? Because obviously you don't want to keep revolving everywhere. You got to eventually find an answer, whether it be Wanye or another guy this year we decide to draft. Figure out a younger option that's going to solidify that room. Because I think everything else is just kind of plug and play as far as like from a athletic scheme standpoint. The biggest one is definitely tackle. If you can figure that out outside of the contracts, that'll be a big help to this team, because everything else is pretty much just make a decision, develop a guy, and Cullen's done a great job with D linemen. Heck's done a great job with O linemen. I have no doubts about whoever we bring in, those two men will get those guys ready to go.
Yeah, and we'll be doing a lot of work as far as the draft is concerned. Kind of doing a little bit of prototype work on Veach/Andy Reid picks. We'll be doing a lot of previews as far as individual positions of need specifically, and certainly going through the whole 9 yards. And as we get closer to the draft, we'll have 2 special mock draft episodes as well, to have a little fun as far as we're concerned, because everybody loves the mock draft simulators as well. So yeah, that is my choose your own off season as far as being able to put L'Jarius Sneed back on this team. Unfortunately, losing Chris Jones, but being able to try and find a way to replace his value and move forward throughout the off season, and what you can do from that perspective to try and continue this team and try to have the three-peat even without 9-5. So next week, which one are we doing? Are we doing keep Jones or keep both? Or are we doing keep Jones and lose Sneed?
I think lose Sneed week. I think I was going last.
Yeah.
All right.
So I guess it's on me.
Yeah. So
we're gonna be in the lab this weekend. He's gonna be like, oh yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna do the loose Sneed scenario and keep Chris Jones next week with DG. He'll be in the lab making sure. Yeah. We play it. We're gonna call him DJ Brett Veach, baby. Let's get it. I can't wait.
DJ Veach, baby.
They might be calling me cheap Veach.
Cheap Veach. You want to do this? You would take it, man.
Right.
Yeah. I will also say, as we've kind of gone through, or I should say, as I've gone through kind of looking at the prospects and how it's breakdown, this is a very good draft from the needs that the Chiefs will have to address, and then also kind of where it will make sense to pick these guys. You talked about the running backs. There's a nice little pocket of those guys on day 3 that I think you can certainly target. I think there's a nice pocket of tight ends on day 3 that you could target from an athletic standpoint that fit the bill of the type of guy that I'm trying to add to this room. And certainly it's a very deep tackle class, in my opinion. It's a deep wide receiver class, in my opinion. And I think there are some very good day 2 defensive linemen as well that you can add in. One of those guys is DG's, Texas fandom. I love T'Vondre Sweat. If you're going to get a nose tackle to bring into this lineup and use a little bit more of those odd front looks where you can kind of walk Leo Chanel down a little bit more and then put BJ Thompson a little bit more into the work, into the lineup and work, a little bit more of stand up for FAU and George Karlaftis. You need a guy that's going to be able to 2-gap for you. And that's something that T'Vondre Sweat could do with the best of them. I think he could. I think it's fair to say that he does it the best of anybody in the draft as far as 2-gap and as far as that's concerned. So shout out to him as the best true nose. And look, his teammate is probably going to go top 15 because that boy Murphy is a whole
Byron Murphy. That's a grown man right there.
Boy Byron Murphy.
Byron Murphy's gonna be a rich man in the league at some point.
Yes,
so.
Him and the edge. Him and what's the edge from Florida State? I forgot his name. Number 5.
Verse. Yeah.
Verse. Him and Verse probably my 2 favorite edges, along with that kid from Washington too. Those are probably 2 of my favorite edges in the draft.
Trice, yeah. I love Trice got some nice. Trice has a very nice 3-4-4-3 kind of end versatility because I think he's big enough that he can reduce down a little bit too. So look, we're gonna talk about these guys.
He got off the edge pretty well. He's been more than I thought he would.
Absolutely, and we can talk about because Trey asked about Darius Robinson. He's not going anywhere near the top 10, but we will talk about Darius Robinson.
You talk about top 10 of day 2,
yeah.
Top 10 of day 2. That's absolutely correct. But yeah, man. Yeah, so that's my scenario. We'll see if we can get a graphic put together for tomorrow. But either way, I'll be going on Kingdom Cast so we could talk about my scenario with the crew over there, Boogie, Chuck, and Country. Of course, we'll let them pick me apart and for them to figure out, what exactly they like and don't like. I can't wait to see it. So
where's
anything
Cody
else?
Schrader? That's the first thing Chuck gonna say.
Yeah.
Will Shipley, Cody Schrader, 10 times better than him. I mean, he is, but that's what he's gonna say. It's gonna be funny.
I bet it's gonna be funny. But yeah, anything we gotta say before we get on out of here, man?
Oh man, tune into Kingdom Cast.
What Country says there is no off season. Let's get back to work. Beach in the building right now. While we talking, he in the building right now, typing up email.
Absolutely. Look, I can't wait and look. It's the dates are going to be flying by. I think is this weekend the combine? Right?
I thought it was next weekend.
Next weekend, okay.
I think it's next.
Because it goes into March.
Is it? I think it might be this weekend, bro.
I ain't seen not one tweet about. Am I tripping?
Right, but it sneaks up on you because we keep winning these things.
Do like height and weight and stuff. Usually, I start seeing guys report and stuff like that.
So it's February 27th through March 4th. So it's next weekend. Is the combine, or next, end of next week into next weekend is the combine. So obviously the franchise tag window is open. That will last until or March 5th, I should say, specifically at 4 p.m. So be on the lookout for that. And obviously we'll have next week, Wednesday, we'll be coming back here and tell the truth. And look, man, it's off season coming up fast. It'll be a new league year before you know it. Look, Trey just tugging on my heartstrings. Yeah, that J. Cole song that he dropped.
Shit go crazy, don't it, Trey?
Oh, I can't wait for the fall off.
The king is back. Stop playing with Cole, bro.
Oh, Cole, crazy dog. Okay. Anyway, we're not gonna get into that. But yes. So look, in summary, Chiefs are champs again, back to back. I feel sorry if your team may win a title in 365 days. It is what it is. I apologize. We just go through this thing.
Right.
It is what it is. The Chiefs are the champs. Y'all gonna have to deal with it. We coming for that 3P, man. I appreciate y'all. Thank you guys so much for coming by. Shout out to CJ. Shout out to DG, man. For DMAC, man. Tell the truth. Peace out.